Hello and welcome to the NBE Basketball Report podcast. This is Raphielle Johnson, West Coast editor for the NBE Basketball Report. Today, Thursday, November 17th, and our podcast will focus on the National Prep Showcase, which will be played this weekend at Albertus Magnus College in New Haven, Connecticut. Some outstanding prep competition to be seen out there. One of the premier events of the prep scholastic high school season, whatever you want to call it. We got a chance to talk with Brian Bosworth of NBE Basketball Report, who will be covering the event all weekend for NBE. And we got some of his thoughts on some of the top teams and players in the event. Enjoy. Okay, I want to say welcome to Brian Bosworth, and thank you for coming on to the podcast. How are you doing today, Brian?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Raphael.
Right, not a problem. Thanks for coming on. We talk about the National Prep Showcase, which we played at Albertus Magnus College in New Haven this weekend. Probably one of the premier prep events in the country. So, going over that event, I think one team that really sticks out to me is the Tilton School. We talk about guys like Nerlens Noel and also Wayne Selden, if I'm not mistaken. Could you kind of go over their roster, some of the the key players they bring into the tournament this weekend?
Sure. Yeah, they're a fun team to watch. A lot of the prep school teams, they change their roster over every year, so you don't get a lot of cohesion on the court. But Tilton's been together for a while, and also most of the kids play together with BABC in the summer. Mm-hmm. So they play together as a team a lot better than most of the prep school teams do. As you mentioned, their best player's got to be Nerlens Noel, the 2013 center, about 6'10", 6'11", best shot blocker in the country for my money. I mean, people are saying he's probably the best shot blocker since Greg Oden. Mm-hmm. He's a real big defensive force. And then also, as you mentioned, Wayne Selden, he's a 2014 kid, shooting guard, about 6'5", real strong physical player. If you didn't know he was a 2014 kid, you would never believe it. I mean, the kid looks like he could play in college right now.
Agreed.
Real athletic, can shoot the ball, get to the rim. But they're not a two-man team by any stretch. To me, their most underrated players got to be George Niang, the kid who's committed to Iowa State in the class of 2012. I really think the Big East missed the boat on this kid, letting the local kid get away to the Big 12. I mean, he doesn't pass the eye test, so schools didn't jump on him early. I mean, he's only about 6'6". He plays power forward. He's not like a big, thick 6'6", the kind of you see like tight end type guys. He's not like that, and he's not that athletic. So you watch him once, and you're thinking, I mean, this kid's not a high major player. I don't see it. But all he does is score. He just keeps scoring on players who are ranked higher than him or supposedly better than him. All summer long for BABC, he was their leading scorer. He's going to do the same thing for Tilton this year. They're definitely going to be one of the most fun teams to watch this weekend.
Yeah, definitely agree with you on George Niang. I think he's a steal for Fred Hoiberg at Iowa State. Moving on, Brewster Academy, another team. I know one player they've got. They got a few good players, excuse me, but could you kind of go over Brewster Academy?
Sure. Their top dog, no doubt, is Mitch McGarry.
Yeah.
Steal from Michigan. I can't believe Michigan. I mean, to me, he's the biggest recruit to Michigan since the Fab Five. I mean,
yeah,
Mitch is big time. 6'9", 6'10", lefty, thick body. Gets compared to guys like Tyler Hansborough and Kevin Love. I think Hansborough's almost selling him short, which seems crazy because he's one of the best players in college history. But I think Mitch has a better long-term future than Hansborough in the league. He just gets compared to Hansborough all the time because he brings that intensity.
Yeah.
He seems like he's playing harder than everybody else. When he's on the bench sitting for a minute, he's waving the towel and standing up cheering on his team. So that's where the Hansborough comes in. I think his game is a lot more like Kevin Love because he can step out and shoot the three. He rebounds the ball real well. We've even seen him lead the break at 6'10", 260, which is a scary thought. But he's their top player. They got other guys too, though. T.J. Warren is a big combo forward who's committed to Mark Gottfried and NC State. He scores the ball from everywhere. I mean, he's a kid I'm real excited to see this weekend, see how he fits in with that team. I also love I don't want to call him a point guard because I don't know if that's what he is, but Samaj Kristen, he's committed to Xavier. Kid from Cincinnati, he's in for a post-grad year. He's not a two, but he's more of a lead guard. He needs the ball in his hands, but he can score. A lot of guys from the Cincinnati area were comparing him to Jamal Crawford, which to me makes sense. You think about Crawford, I mean, in the league, he's obviously a 2, but he played point guard in Michigan. I mean, that's his original position. Kristen's kind of like that. He's going to get in the paint. He's going to make floaters. He's got range out to the three-point line, but that's not really his strength. He's better at going off the bounce and scoring the ball. So they're an up-tempo team. I mean, Brewster's probably considered the best team in the country. And they got 6 high major kids for sure. They're a powerhouse, no question.
All right. One other kid on that Brewster roster, kind of want to touch on, Jakar Sampson. Is he going to play this weekend? And what are some of his strengths from your view?
My understanding is that he will be playing. I know he's been with them so far this season, so unless he suffered an injury in practice or something, I got no reason to assume he's not going to be out there. He was with Brewster last year, and of course had committed to St. John's, was ruled ineligible in the fall, so he's back at Brewster. My understanding is that he's wide open. St. John's is still involved, but he's not committed to St. John's by any stretch anymore. He's kind of a combo forward, 3'4", he's about 6'8", strong frame. He does a lot of his work from like the mid-post. He likes to catch around 12 feet and face up because he's got a first step. Guys just can't handle him. The type of guys who defend him are going to be post players, and they just can't handle his first step off the dribble. He loves getting in the middle of the paint and hits little 6-foot runners off the glass, floaters in traffic. He's just a real tough offensive matchup because of his size and ability to go off the bounce.
Okay. Moving on, New Hampton's another good prep school that tends to put out talented Division I caliber kids on an annual basis. Who are some of the players that stick out on their roster for you?
New Hampton is probably the team I'm most excited to see of anybody this weekend. And it's unusual. The guys who are probably going to control the tempo for them and be their go-to players are not the guys that necessarily I'm excited to see, but there are good players. They got senior point guard Olivier Hanlon. He's committed to Boston College. Solid pickup for BC. He's just a leader and a winner. He never makes mistakes. He's always doing the right thing. He doesn't jump off the page at you. You're not going to be overly impressed with his athleticism. But then at the end of the day, you look at his line, and it seems like he's got 20 points and 7 assists and 5 rebounds. He just keeps producing. Another senior power forward, they got Zach August, who's committed to Notre Dame. Good player, athletic, 6'9", a little skinny, needs to add some weight to play in the Big East, but athletic finisher, can stretch the floor a little bit and make three-point shots, something he started doing this summer, first time I saw him do that. But for me, the guys who are real exciting on New Hampton are their younger players in the future who are going to get minutes but are not necessarily going to be the feature guys for them. It starts with Noah Vonleh, 2014. Kid had a huge summer. He's been known in New England for a while, but he really blew up on the national stage this summer. 6'7", 6'8", small forward. The whole country is after this guy. I mean, I spoke to him back in the spring. He told me Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, Syracuse, UConn, Pitt. I mean, the who's who of college basketball wants Noah Vonleh to come play for them. I'm very excited to see him play. And then they got a 2015 kid who I saw over the summer named Jeremy Miller, about 6'9", center, power forward center, real skinny. It's 2015. He's 6'9". He's already making 15-footers, going off the dribble, blocking shots. I think he's got a chance to be a top 20, top 25 player in the country in the class of 2015. So New Hampton's got some youth that I'm very excited to see to go along with their senior leaders in Hanlon and August. Okay.
South Kent Prep, another, annual power on the prep scene. Who are some of the guys in South Kent Prep that you're looking forward to watching this weekend?
With South Kent, you got to start talking about the backcourt. They have probably the most explosive backcourt of any high school team in the country. Ricardo Leto, class of 2012, committed to Ed Cooley at Providence, hometown kid from Providence. He's a kid who'll drive you crazy when you watch him. You watch him play one time and you'll think, that's the best player in the country. I've never seen anybody who can score like him. And then you'll watch him a week later and you'll think, there were 5 guys on the court who were better than him. He's real inconsistent, but he's got NBA talent. I mean, 6'6", 2-guard, can score from anywhere on the floor. He can get anywhere he wants. He's got range out to 25 feet. He seems to have a little bit of trouble between the ears. I mean, he's always seems to have bad body language on the court. And look, a lot of times that's just immaturity, and kids grow out of it. And hopefully that happens with Rick, because he definitely has the talent to be in the league for a long time. But he's one of their big stars. And then his backcourt mate, is a kid who I've been trying to see for years, and he keeps eluding me, and that's Chris Thomas.
Yeah.
He's a 2013 kid from out of Colorado. He runs with the Colorado Hawks in the summer. I was supposed to see him at this event last year, and then somehow he wasn't with his team, and supposedly he was transferring during the year to West Wind Prep.
Mm-hmm.
Then he was supposed to be with West Wind Prep at the Prep School Championships at Albertus Magnus in the spring, and all he did was sit at the end of the bench in a shirt and tie and not play. So I can't wait to see Chris Thomas on the court. I've seen a bunch of video on him over the summer. He had a big performance against Shabazz Muhammad out at the Jayhawk Invitational in Kansas. They both put 35 on each other. Supposedly he scores from everywhere on the floor. He makes deep shots. He attacks the rim. Again, like Lito, he's got some maturity issues. Every time I read a write-up on Chris Thomas, it says he scored 30 points and he picked up a technical foul and couldn't stop screaming at the refs. So if he can get his maturity straight, there might not be a more talented guard in the 2013 class than Chris Thomas. So they're a fun team to watch. The two of them could both score 30 in games this weekend. They're going to be fun.
All right. Kind of expand on Lito a bit. Do you think there should be any sort of concerns? I hear people, in different reports question, about winning and whatnot. Do you think there should ever be any type of concern in that regard on Lito?
I think there's a concern, but I'll say this. I have not seen him play with a top-level point guard.
Yeah.
When you're a scorer, somebody's got to get you the ball, because Rick's not a point guard. I mean, he plays point at times because he's forced to, and frankly, with South Kent, him and Chris Thomas are both two, so in the backcourt, they're going to have a problem. But I understand the concern because, for example, at the Peach Jam in the summer, he's running with Albany City Rocks. They went 0-5. They didn't win a game, even though they had him and DeJuan Coleman committed to Syracuse, two top 20 talents in the country, and they couldn't beat anybody. But the one time I saw him play with a point guard was in Providence, not this past spring, but the spring before. He's just a young kid, and Mike Carter-Williams came to play with him for the weekend and played point for Expressions Elite. They won the tournament. Rick did anything he wanted to. When he has somebody setting him up and he doesn't have to be the primary ball handler, I think he's in a better position to win. He's just often playing out of position, and I think that hinders him a lot.
All right. Makes perfect sense to me, at least watching them in different EYBL events as well. We've already talked about some of these top teams. There's another one, Hargrave Military Academy, coming up from the South. How do you see them fitting into this showcase this weekend?
They're always a force to be reckoned with. I don't think they have quite the team they've had in years past, certainly not last year when P.J. Hairston led the way, the North Carolina freshman, but they still got a good group. They're always going to be challenging. They got basically three top guys in my mind. Point guard Cody Miller-McIntyre, who's committed to Wake Forest. I've only seen him on video. I haven't seen him play yet, so I am definitely excited to see what he brings to the table, but I know he's been putting up big point totals for them early in the season and really controlling their offense. Big man, they got Montrezl Harrell, who's committed to Virginia Tech.
Okay.
It's about 6'8", 6'9", athletic, big man, strong. Defender and rebounder, offensive game is still coming, but has a chance to be a low-post scorer in the ACC. Definitely a rebounder and defender from the get-go. And then they got a kid in Ryan Taylor, who's committed to Louisville. 6'7", shoots the three. I mean, it makes sense that he's going to go play for Rick Pitino because he's a big who spaces the floor and can make shots. So the three of them are going to be their pieces fit. So I would imagine, and they're very well coached. I imagine they're going to be a tough out in this weekend because they have a team. They don't just have a bunch of guys who play the same position or going out there to get their own stats. They fit together. They're going to be well coached. They're going to play hard. I expect them to win some games.
All right. La Lumiere is one team that sticks out to me mainly because of the presence of Indiana signee Hannah Perea. Besides Perea, you can even expand on him a little bit. How do you see La Lumiere shaping up?
Yeah, they got a lot of talent. Perea is definitely their top dog, as you said. Committed to Indiana with that whole Indiana Elite program, basically. But another kid from their Indiana Elite who's committed to New Mexico, who plays for La Lumiere too, is a kid named Obij Aget. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but that's the best I can do. He's about 7 feet tall. I don't know how he got out of high majors and is going to. I know New Mexico is about as close to high major as it gets without being it, but I don't know how they let him go. Kid's 7 feet, 250. I know he's raw, but he's a center in the high major school, and somehow Alfred stole him, and he's going to New Mexico. So they got him, and then they got a couple of Purdue commits. Power forward Jay Simpson, and then kind of a guard, forward, wing, and Raphielle Davis. Both physical guys. I mean, they're huge, as you can see. The four guys I named: power forward, center, and kind of a guard forward. They're a huge team. I don't see how anybody's going to be able to handle them on the boards. And then they got a kid running the show, a sophomore, Johnny Vassar. It's his first year with the team. He was in New England last year. He runs with BABC in the summer. To me, he's the key for them. If he can get guys the ball in the spots they need to be, they can play with anybody. But if he has trouble in the prep school ranks, he's just, a lot of these kids are 19 years old. He's only a sophomore, so I got to see him do it before I'm ready to say La Lumiere is going to be one of the better teams this weekend. But he certainly has a talent. I mean, schools like California, Illinois are interested in him already, so he certainly has the talent to do it, but I just don't know if he's ready yet.
Okay. A good measuring stick for him.
Sure.
Notre Dame prep, we haven't touched on them yet. Who are some of the guys who stick out for Notre Dame prep?
Well, for them, unfortunately, the name that you want to talk about the most is one who's not going to be there, and that's Steven Adams, the 7-footer from New Zealand. He's not joining the team until the spring, but he might be the best player in the country when he gets here. What they have now is all guards, because they're kind of waiting on Adams, and he's going to be their big man, but they're going to be playing 5 guards a lot of the time.
Okay.
Headlined by Miles Davis, committed to Xavier.
Yeah.
Shooter. I mean, he plays with the New Jersey Players in the summer. One of the best three-point shooters in the 2012 class, should space the floor for Xavier right away and be able to get minutes. They also got Sam Cassell Jr. Plays a lot like his dad, actually.
Okay.
You see his dad when he pulls up for mid-range, the way Sam Cassell Sr. used to kick those legs out to get space on the defender in the mid. Sam does the same thing and is good at making shots mid-range. And then they got a kid who I haven't seen yet, who I'm excited to see, Adonis Filer, who's committed to Clemson, another guard. They should run, because they're not going to have the size to play with anybody while they're waiting for Steven Adams to come. But they're going to press. They're going to run 5 guards. They're going to get up and down the floor. They should be a fun team to watch. Those 3 guards are their trio, though. Those are their main guys.
Okay. Bridgeton Academy, probably the last team we'll touch on here. Bridgeton, who are some of their strongest players that you see on the roster?
Okay. Well, for Bridgeton, like Notre Dame Prep, they lack size, but they got wings who can compete.
Okay.
The first name I'm going to give you is Derek Wood. He plays with Miles Davis in the summer, kid from the New Jersey Players. He's committed to St. John's. Long, lean 2-guard, about 6'4". Will wow you with athleticism on the break when you're not expecting it. He reminds me a lot of Jeremy Lamb. I don't know if he's quite that good, but he's got a similar body type, and the way Lamb kind of just plays at his own pace, and all of a sudden he dunks on somebody in traffic, and you're like, where did that come from? Derek Wood seems to do the same thing. You watch him, and you're thinking, he's okay. He's making some shots. And then all of a sudden he gets out on the break, and he unleashes a dunk that you had no idea was in his repertoire.
Yeah.
Very athletic kid who will be fun for St. John's. Another kid who was part of St. John's recruiting class and was one of the kids who was ineligible is Amir Garrett.
Okay.
A lot of the country's probably familiar with him because of his time at Findlay Prep. They're on TV a lot, so a lot of people have probably seen him. I'm interested to talk to him this weekend, almost more than see him play. I've seen him so much. I know his game, 6'5", lefty, very athletic, gets out in transition. But he has said that he only wants to be at Bridgeton for the first semester and is planning to go back to St. John's for the second semester and get eligible. I don't know if that's still his plan, so I'm interested to find that out and see where he stands there. And then they have a third wing, a kid by the name of Malik Nichols. He's doing a post-grad year. He did his high school at Boys and Girls in New York City.
Okay.
And originally had committed to Hofstra, but decided to do a post-grad year and reopen his recruitment, which, if he's trying to play at the highest level he can, was a good decision because he's going to get a better offer than Hofstra, I can tell you that. 6'6" lefty, can shoot the 3, very athletic, seems to do all the little things, plays very hard, just always seems to be making plays. He's grabbing offensive rebounds in the paint when it doesn't seem like he should be big enough to get them, and he makes winning plays. So those 3 guards, wings, whatever you want to call them, are going to be the 3 best players for Bridgeton this weekend.
All right. Yeah, speaking to your point on Wood, I saw him spark a rally from a 26-point deficit against Mac Irvin Fire in Phoenix this past summer. So he can definitely get it going when you least expect it. So, Moving on, a couple other individual players wanted to discuss. Mike Tobey at Blair Academy and then Jamel Artis at Vermont Academy. How do those two kind of shape up for you?
Tobey's a guy I like a lot. I just think he's very underrated nationally. I mean, he gets pub on the national scene. He plays with the New York Gauchos in the summer, so it's a well-known program. You're going to get seen. Most recruiting services have him ranked around the 100 mark, somewhere in there. I don't understand it. I mean, he's a true 5. You don't see a lot of those. 6'10", 6'11", can score on the block, was one of the leading shot blockers in the entire Nike EYBL circuit with the Gauchos, really defends the rim and controls the paint. He's not flashy, so I guess maybe, but you'd think scouts understand that. They know what they're looking for, but I don't get it. I think he's wildly underrated at around the 100 mark in the country. I think he's more like a top 50 kid and is going to be an impact player for Virginia. And then Jamel Artis is a kid at Vermont Academy who plays with Baltimore Elite in the summer. The reason I like him so much is because he's about 6'5", 6'6", and you see him listed as like a small forward, but the reality is he's a point guard. And that's what he did for Baltimore Elite in the summer, and that's what I'm hoping he's going to be doing for Vermont Academy. He has kind of a herky-jerky game, just kind of works his way into the paint, and then he's got great vision. He makes plays. You want to call him a point forward, you can call him that, but he has a habit of getting in the lane and finding teammates and just making the right play. He doesn't jump off the page. He's not super athletic, but he makes winning plays. He can shoot the ball out to the three-point line. And I think as long as he's got the ball in his hands and is playing point guard, he's definitely a high major player.
Okay. Final question before I let you go. In terms of, the teams and players that we haven't discussed, is there one guy that kind of stands out to you? I think I look at this group of teams, and I think of Ethan O'Day at Northfield Mount Hermon. Ran with CBC, Andre Drummond, and Chris Dunn in the summer. And he was a guy who's not flashy, but he just kind of gets things done as the game wears on. So maybe him or someone else. Is there anybody that sticks out to you?
I do like Ethan a lot. That's a good pick. And he actually fits in with that Northfield Mount Hermon team so well because they send more kids to the Ivy League than anybody. I mean, they have such high IQ, high character guys, and that's exactly what he is. I'm just kind of looking over the schedule, checking these teams, see if I can come up with somebody else. I'll tell you one kid I do like at, I'll probably pronounce this wrong, Maston Newton Military Academy. Okay. But that's Terry Brutus. Yeah. Kid's from New York. He played with the New England Players in the summer. And I don't think he quite liked the level of offers he was receiving, so he decided to do a post-grad year. He's the kind of kid, he's about 6'5". He's going to be a power forward. He's trying to work his way to the 3, but he's a power forward in the sense of like an Antonio Gates or a Tony Gonzalez. If you're a fantasy football guy, keep an eye on Terry Brutus to be an NFL tight end. I mean, he's I didn't see anybody stronger on the AAU circuit, and he's about 6'5". So the exciting matchup is Sunday morning. They're going to play Brewster Academy, who's got 3, 4, 5 guys, 6'8", 6'9", high major kids. So I want to see what Brutus can do against them if he can use his strength to score over bigger, taller, more athletic players and just use his power to get things done. So he's a kid who should be fun to watch this weekend.
Sounds good. Brutus, he kind of looked like a man amongst boys, and I saw him in July. So definitely agree with your point there. Your coverage will be on the NBE basketball report all weekend, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
That's correct. I'll be doing write-ups for them all weekend, and I'll be tweeting at Bosworth Hoops throughout the weekend as well.
Okay, sounds good. Brian, once again, thank you for coming on to the show, and we will talk again soon.
Raphielle, thanks for having me. I look forward to talking to you again.
All right, take care. Once again, many thanks to Brian for coming on to the show and talking about the National Prep Showcase. You can catch his work at NBE Basketball Report all weekend. Thanks again for listening, and take care.